John, dude.
Alright, so we're doing Kahoot.
Okay.
Some things I haven't gone over that I can see already in this first one.
Can I use
Can
I use your periodic table when you were there?
Uh,
I forgot.
yeah, there's some up here.
Let's see if I forgot.
I just kind of, I'm literally 2 days like. No, don't be a simp. Don't be a simp.
So, we've only been looking at single atoms. There are also polyatomic ions. Some of the most common ones you'll see is hydroxide.
What is that?
So, it's a single ion that has O and H and a -1 charge. So, what is the charge of calcium?
Negative.
So look at your periodic table. What is the charge on calcium?
Calcium?
Mm-hmm. What about calcium ion?
Calcium? Ca.
What charge would it be?
Calcium is 1.
What's the charge when it becomes an ion?
Oh, 0. +2.
+2. And hydroxide is OH negative. So remember what we did yesterday. We need 2 of these charges to counteract this, or we can do crisscross. So we're going to, if we do crisscross, we put the OH here. The 2 is going to come to the whole OH. So we put them in parentheses and write the 2 next to it. The 1 right here, the imaginary 1, will come over here. And since we don't write 1s, then the formula would be this. So if we have more than one atom in an ion, then it's we have to treat the whole thing as one thing. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So remember, the positive is cation, the negative is anion. How I remember it is anion comes before cation in the alphabet, and you alphabetize it. A is less than C.
It says I have no
I have interwebs.
I want to reset the internet.
I've just went offline.
Yeah, we'll do that because I reset it.
Three started busting on the one.
Give me another one.
No. This is the one that Nando gave me. This is what we trade for tea every day. Oh, okay, I got it.
Did you make this one yourself?
No, I just Googled it.
At the very end of class, can we do a fun one? Please?
I run out of these to do.
That means guys start guessing.
No. If you do too badly, that'll encourage me to do more. If y'all do really good, I feel we don't need to do any more.
Oh. Hey, what's my name?
Is this supposed to be a cat or something?
Hey, can y'all explain this to me? I don't know what it means.
What?
What does that mean?
What?
The symbol, man. What does that mean?
Owa.
It's 2 wide eyes and a squiggly mouth, maybe?
I don't know.
It's like,
John, that spark thingy that makes her after to John. Yeah, back here. When it said full name, does it mean a middle name too? I just put a fake name. I'm sorry. I use Leno. I didn't put my name on there.
Leno. Who's Leno?
I'm just gonna
Mine's currently its share 14.
That's the word gamer tag. What's yours, Michael? My gamer tag?
Yeah.
Oh, which game? I love them.
Any game. What's your main gamer tag? And who puts different gamer tags for different games?
Me.
That's weird.
I use sometimes Valiant Gray, Valiant J, and sometimes.
What do you usually use, Mr. West?
What?
What's your gamer tag?
Zenith West.
Oh, that's a sick one. That is,
Or no, Zenith Infinity.
that's pretty sick. That's my previous cheer.
I use
I don't know what a curly cheer is.
You know why I chose one now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, everyone's on.
It is so hot in here. I can't take my jacket off.
What type of elements are typically in ionic compounds?
Two different middles. Let's see those.
So we want them to be far apart on the periodic table. This means it has to usually be metals with nonmetals. Again, they have to have a high electronegativity. What charge would you predict selenium to form?
John. +1, +2, +3, +4, or -4. Oh my god, I got it wrong because the stupid PR came.
I got it right.
Y'all need to be right. Y'all need to write
No, I was using this one and then they put the no gas. Yeah, no gas was right. So I thought it was.
That's why you shouldn't use the back ones unless you're looking at EM value. Use the actual periodic table that's on the side. What charge would you predict radium would have?
I don't even know where it is. Yeah,
I think you both missed it.
just talking about the second one at the very bottom. Yeah, I just said.
Stop doing that. So +2 is in group 2. What charge would X have in the following formula?
Oh god. I don't know. Charge with X have.
Magnesium. 2, 3.
Go ahead and yes. Actually, no, I didn't. I'm sticking with my answer. I think it's right. Okay, I was wrong.
Because of black.
Stop doing that before I write you up. So magnesium, what was it, 2 or 3?
It was
Magnesium 3 times X2.
So, what charge does magnesium have?
+2.
So that means we have 3 plus 2 charges. What is 3 times +2?
6.
And what we need to counteract this +6. So what times 2 would give us -6?
3.
-3.
We couldn't do all that in my head.
You should have been able to. How many valence electrons does fluorine have?
Where is falling?
Oh god.
I do have 19.
Does what have Warren? Oh god.
7 is in group 7A.
Almost like one. I didn't.
How many of valence electrons does sulfur have?
Which one's sulfur? The
That's honestly exactly.
that's
5 points behind T.
What do you predict the charge for the ion X to be? So we have aluminum and an X.
I'm gonna go with.
It's basically the exact same example I just showed y'all how to do.
Hit it.
So aluminum has a +3 charge. To counteract that +3 charge, the X must have -3 charge. So that +3 and -3 cancel each other out.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
What is the name of the compound CuF2? So what charge does copper have? Nope.
No, copper has 2.
So there's fluorine are both negative charges. And there's 2 negative charges. That means copper must be +2. So it's going to be one that has copper 2 in its name. And fluorine, we change fluorine to IDE ending. So it should be copper 2 fluoride.
Yeah, I do.
That's a lot that makes sense.
You gave us the answer and I still got it.
What? How?
So fluorine is an anion, and we change the name of ions to end in IDE. So it becomes fluoride.
You said copper 2, and then you said fluorine, I just said screw.
I'm just shocked getting a percentage.
What is the formula for silver nitrate? So it should be red.
Thank you.
NO3 is nitrate, and it has a negative charge. So NO3 has -1 charge. So that means that there should only be 1 silver. But it's the only one with NO3. We always put cations first. So look at blue versus red. It's the same formula except for they put Ag at the end. I should have specified that. When writing down formulas, the cation, the positive ion, always goes first. With very few exceptions. +1 always goes first. -1 always goes to end. Nitrate's formula is NO3, but we're not going to get into the oxy ions.
An oxy ion.
What is the overall charge for all ionic compounds? Again, compounds have no charge by definition. If it has a charge, it's called an ion. So all compounds have no charges. Doesn't matter what type of compound it is. If it has a charge, it's called an ion.
I see ions.
What is a cation?
A breed of cat, obviously.
A breed of cat.
Was an anion.
Look, you put a type of shot instead if you get these right, you talk.
You should care for the well-being of us.
Yeah.
What charge does halogens have?
Oh God.
I don't know.
Oh, I just.
The halogens is group 7A. That's fluorine. Fluorine is a halogen.
As soon as I got that click mouth, I I got mixed up with the
Cat.
What is the ratio of cations to anions?
Anybody. I don't know. I got it right.
So, a ionic compound has exactly two parts. It has a cation, which is always written in the front. So the cation would be iron, Fe. And the anion is always written next. The anion here is phosphate, PO4. So this is considered one anion, or one ion of it. So they always have exactly two ions. The positive cation and the negative anion. And the anions sometimes have more than one element, and they're called polyatomic, meaning more than one atom. What is the correct formula for zinc hydroxide? Zinc has a +2 charge. So remember, the first thing I told you was OH has a negative charge. So we need two of them. This one over here only puts 2 on the hydrogen, not both the O and the H.
Oh.
What is the formula for 10-2-chlorite? Chlorite is ClO2, and it has a negative charge.
I don't know.
It has a -1 charge.
I'd say circle.
You got it right. I did. I didn't skip.
I did.
So I told you chlorite has a -1 charge. And it said in the name 10-2. So that means SN plus 2. So that means when we do our crisscross, we need to come over here and put the 2 on the chlorite. And the 1 we omit. What is the formula for chromium 3 sulfide? I refers to the atoms of sulfur. 8 and I have oxygen with them. IDE is just a single atom of sulfur. But the chromium has a +3 charge.
Oh my god!
Your boy got it right.
So chromium +3 and sulfur -2. So 3 is going to come over here. The 2 is going to come over here.
I got it now. Get another one of these questions, I got it.
Name the following ionic compound.
Oh, wow.
So this one over here, this polyatomic, is called arsenate. So this is called arsenate. Oh, and this is written weird. I honestly don't know because there's H2 on it.
I think blue.
HG2.
Well, I mean,
So this arsenate has a -2 charge. Look, I need to look at the periodic table. No, it has a -3 charge. So -3 times, yeah, this one's a difficult one. Even I needed the periodic table to know it. I haven't seen HG2. But if this has -3, -3 times 2 is -6. And 3 times 2 times +1 gives me +6 over here. What compound would form between strontium and oxygen? So, strontium has a +2. Oxygen has a -2, so they already cancel out their charges. So it's SRO. And we always put the SR in the front because it's positive, not in the back. What compound would form between zinc and chlorine? I forget the charge on zinc. Well, regardless, there's only one possible answer.
I picked it last time.
Oh, no, there's still...
What?
So, first of all, this is carbon down here. How can you do zinc and chlorine and get carbon? And what in the world is Z? Z is nothing. So, obviously, these two are obviously wrong. The question is, and this one can't possibly be correct either, I don't think. Yeah, this one can't possibly be correct. Because this would imply that zinc has a half a charge. The charge on zinc is +1/2. And you can't have half charges. You always have whole numbers. So the only possibility is this. Even if you had no clue what the charge on zinc was.
You are big brain, Mr. West.
What charge would boron have?
Yeah. You get that wrong.
+3. It's in group 3A. How many electrons does iodine give to the noble gas configuration?
What?
How many does it gain to get a noble gas configuration?
Ugh.
How many does it gain?
I listened to what you said at first. I did.
I'll say get instead of gain, but it still means the same thing. How many electrons does it gain or get? So how many valence electrons does iodine have? So remember, noble gas configuration is when you go to 0 or 8. So it has 7. How many does it get from another atom to get to 8? This is the octet rule. 8 refers to the noble gas configuration. All the noble gases have 8 valence, except for helium. So it only needs 1. Name this compound.
Name that compound. KF.
So this always has 1 charge, so we don't use Roman numerals with it.
It only makes sense if it's potassium.
So remember, the anion, fluorine, when it's anions get a special name, they get the IDE ending.
It only makes sense if it was potassium fluoride.
And Roman numerals are only used if it has more than 1 charge, common charge. Potassium is in group 1A and always has +1.
You know what I mean, Mr. West? It would make sense. Like in the crime shows. Oh, God.
This is acetate. This is acetate. It's usually not written like that.
Who still picked?
Acetate.
Acetate ion is usually CH3COO negative. occasionally, this is how they normally write it. This is acetate ion. Occasionally, they'll group the carbon together. They'll group the H3 together and the 2O and write it like that. The top one is the preferred way you see everyone write it. But writing like this is acceptable too.
Ooh. Thanks for the answer, man. Thank you, man.
What is the formula for copper 1 sulfate? Sulfate is SO4 and has a -2 charge.
Yeah, I guess. But we know we don't know the answer on this.
So, copper 1. This tells you it's copper with a +1 charge. I said sulfate is SO4 with 2, -2 charges. So I need to double the number of +1 charges to counteract it. So Cu2SO4. Make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just want to see you at this codes.
Do metals gain or lose electrons? This is why they conduct electricity so well.
I will definitely.
I'm the only one that got it right.
So let's look at a metal. Potassium metal. It has 1 electron. Does it want to gain 8?
Yeah, it's weird to think that potassium is its name.
Or lose that 1? It wants to lose 1 to become potassium +1. So metals lose electrons. That's why they're able to conduct electricity.
Yeah.
Do non-metals gain or lose electrons?
I'm gonna go with the G. I'm gonna go with L because you know. It's the only right answer.
They gain electrons.
Mr. West, I'm about to be 15. Can you believe it? Ow. Okay. Maybe you can believe it. Okay. Sure. Top 5 learning unleashed.
Alright, let's do one more. Or 2 more.
We only have like 16 minutes.
What'd you say?
It's 10, 11. We only have 16 minutes.
Wow, Michael. Way to math, buddy. You good at the math? Can I go to the bathroom?
Can't wait.
I'm really gonna pee.
Don't threaten evil to yourself. He has.
That was to prove a point. To who?
Whose class was that in?
That was in Miss Stanley's. Not that Miss Stanley, Jacob's mom's. Here's the thing, though.
What?
What's the difference? I wouldn't do that in your class because she would never let me go to the bathroom. You let me go to the bathroom. She just never. And then she was always like, "It's an emergency. Just tell me." And I was like, "It's an emergency." She still wouldn't let me go. So I'm like, you know what? Just let it rip, son. Pee myself. She never told me that I couldn't go to the bathroom again. That's bad, John.
So, my policy is that if it's an emergency, and I've had the students before who I thought was going to skip just want to skip class, and they were lying to me about the emergency. So I told them, if it's an emergency, you can go right now, but I'm writing you up, and you'll go straight to the office. You'll come back to this room, collect the pink, the slip, and then go to the office. And they're like, all right. And he went. I wrote them up. And the principal agreed that you have no medical thing on your file stating that you have bathroom issues. The normal average person, even if your bladder is completely full, unless you have some issue going on, you should be able to hold it for 45 minutes. There is no way, even if you did not use the bathroom today or tomorrow, you held it in for 2 days, you should still be able to hold a bladder. especially if you are a male.
What about pain though?
If you are a male, you have extra muscles around your urinary tract.
It wasn't necessarily an emergency. I just really had to go. I really wanted to pee. And so when she told me, she was like, "You're gonna have to wait," and it was the very beginning of class, the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, you're not supposed to allow students to leave in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Or the last 10 minutes. What is an ion?
It's something that an ion. Why is my
It's a charged particle, whether it's positive or negative. Again, choose the best atom. An ion is formed when an atom does what? Gains or loses electrons. Magnesium electron arrangement is 282. How many electrons should it lose to be stable? These 282 are referring to the energy levels. First energy level, second energy level, and third energy level. So it wants to either gain 6 to make the last one have 8, or lose these 2 so that this middle energy level is the outer one. And this is a good way. I should have been doing this and just drawing the pictures. So the first one has most 2. The second one can have 8. And look at the last one. It can either gain 6 to get the 8, or it can reduce this one to 0, making the middle one the valence shell. So it wants to lose 2. Oxygen's arrangement is 2-6. How many electrons should it gain to become stable? Unless it's the first one can only be 2. So it either wants the last one to be 8, or it wants to just get rid of the last one. So it either wants to lose 6 or gain 2.
John.
What is an ionic compound made of? A metal and a non-metal.
Thomas! Karma hurts, yeah.
Metal ions are positive because they lose electrons. Electrons are negative numbers, are negative charges. They lose negative charges.
Thomas! You didn't should have.
Non-metal ions are negative because they
Oh, I picked the wrong one.
gain electrons. They gain negativity. They gain negative charges.
You know what? I can lift my eyes closed.
An example of an ionic compound is
You search my eyes. I'm guessing on this one.
what does an ionic compound always have, or usually always have? A metal and a non-metal. Oxygen. What's the compound of it? It's just oxygen. Carbon is not a metal. Oxygen is not a metal. This is a covalent compound, a non-ionic one. And diamond is just pure carbon. So low enough temperature. Another ionic compound is
Hydrochloric acid. Bro. Methane.
Methane and methane. That's it. That was a joke. I didn't know what to pick.
So we have a metal and a non-metal.
This guy.
Ionic compounds form.
They just confused me. I'm gonna go with layers.
What are some properties of ions? They form what type of structures?
Halogen.
Crystal structures. What does the word lattice mean?
Oh, lattice. I know that they use lattice to let plant like vines grow up.
I didn't choose that one because I didn't know what it was.
Lattice
See?
is a structure consisting of strips of wood. That's not what I'm wanting.
They let vines
A regular repeating three-dimensional arrangement of atoms, ions, basically a crystal structure. So it's the repeating pattern of a crystal. A crystal is something that repeats itself over and over again.
Well, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the layers were or the other thing was. So I thought it was halogen. It's so
In a giant lattice, the ions are held together by...
gravity.
hydrogen bonds. Yeah, everybody chose gravity.
So why do ions stay together?
The hydrogen bond. Gravity.
You got it wrong. Everybody got it wrong.
So whenever sodium becomes positive charge and chlorine becomes a negative charge, the negative charge and the positive charges attract each other. This is a electrostatic force. Electrostatic refers to charged force. So it's a charged force, and it is attractive, not repulsive. If it was repulsive, they'd blow each other away.
So it's compound.
So electrostatic forces means forces due to charges.
Okay.
So it's obviously not gravity. Gravity doesn't hold the chemicals together because they're still chemicals. Can't be repulsion,
What's repulsion?
where they repel.
So like.
So repulsion is the word for repel. Attraction is the word for attract. And not every... Actually, a lot of the ones we've dealt with don't even have hydrogen in them.
I don't know how to do that.
You could eliminate 3 of those answers. The forces of attraction act...
You don't know. I got it right.
But what do you mean? So let's look at a salt lattice. So we have Na. So we're looking at salt, NaCl. We have a sodium atom here. We have a chlorine atom here, and they're attracted to each other, right?
Yeah.
They're bonded to make a salt. Then we have an Na here attached to this, attached to another chlorine. And so we have 2 salt molecules, NaCl right here, and NaCl right here. These will bond together. And let's add another salt molecule into this. Another salt, sodium here, another salt here. They're bonded together. Well, this chlorine will attach to this chlorine, and this chlorine will attach to that. Let's add in another one here. Sodium chlorine. So this sodium will bond here. This chlorine will bond here. This chlorine will bond here. This chlorine will bond here. Even if you didn't know this is what the structure of salt looks like,
Oh look!
imagine you have a cube of salt.
It's a 3D square.
Imagine you have a cube of salt. If the charges were only up and down, wouldn't it just fall apart?
Yeah.
If the charges were only left and right, wouldn't as soon as we put the charges, you would be able to push off layers of the salt?
Yeah.
So how could it possibly be up and down or left or right?
Good science.
Michael, did you get that
How-
right too?
Yes.
Hey!
So it has to be in all directions for it to stay a solid.
Shell.
Ionic compounds are held together by strong bonds, so they have... Imagine what strong bonds keeping them together would mean.
Of course, double don't work.
They have, this is something you should know anyway. Ionic properties have high melting points and high boiling points. What does it mean to melt? So when you're a solid, all the atoms are really tightly, strongly put together. And when you start heating up, they're able to slide past each other. And if they have very strong bonds, they can't slide past each other, so they have high melting points. Ionic compounds often form.
Hey, I got a question. What makes some atoms hard, like this? Some atoms.
The strength of the bonds between them.
But how does that differ between them?
So usually, like crystals are very, very hard.
Right.
You can't bend glass. And if they don't have very strong bonds, so the reason why that is important to long particles, polymers. Imagine like some of the polymers could be several inches long, like your DNA. Your DNA is several feet long. If you were to look and unwind a whole DNA molecule, it's extremely long.
Like the Jurassic Park movie.
And you can bend and flex it. Whereas think about the between sodium and chlorine. It's just two atoms. You can't really move it without breaking the bonds. Yeah. One more question and then go put up. Ionic compounds can conduct electricity when what?
Not easy.
This one was I'll be put dissolved in water. Is the correct answer, I would say. But that's not one of them.
I could catch it.
But when you...
2, 3, 4. Yeah, big.
But if you melt it, so salt can't conduct electricity unless it's molten. That's it for today.